now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry.
Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Her Table. This week we have Sandra Brunson on to share her story with us. Sandra is currently the CFO for Second Round Foundation, a nonprofit organization she co-founded with her son, Jalen Brunson. You may recognize the name, and rightfully so. The Knicks star point guard is taking the league by storm.
All right, but hold on. Jalen is not the only athlete in the family. Sandra also played Division I volleyball at Temple University. She also earned her degree in business law and has worked in litigation as a paralegal for 12 and a half years before she took on the tackle of running this foundation with Jalen.
We are so excited to hear her story. Let's welcome Sandra Brunson to Her Table.
So you're in the Northeast. You guys are getting a little snowstorm right now. You're in the nice, cold, deep Northeast, right? Or is it not snowing?
Not snowing. We had a little bit of flurries a day or so ago, but nothing that was sticking. It's a little cold, though. It's a little cold. Yeah.
West, and it's
you don't want to be up.
And I'm like, ooh, it's
yeah,
a little
no.
chilly.
Yeah.
Well, you have so much to your story, like from your husband to your son to every project you have your hand in right now. I want to jump into a little bit about who Miss Sandra is. Like, who is Sandra? What is her backstory? Give us a little bit of a deep dive into kind of your roots and where you were born and raised, and how your upbringing influenced your career path.
Wow. Well, first, Megan and Kate, thank you for having me on. I truly, truly appreciate this. This is humbling. My background, so born and raised in Long Island. I'm a New Yorker, so the longer I talk, that accent will come out. A proud New Yorker, actually. And so my parents, I'm the youngest of three. My parents and my siblings were born in Jamaica, West Indies. So I'm the quote unquote Yankee in the family.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have a lot of deep roots in the West Indies. I went to Malvern High School, started playing sports then because I just loved about it, and then found out, oh, you can probably get a scholarship. And I thought, well, that's nice. I'll try it maybe, because I played volleyball in high schoall. I played basketball, but wasn't very good. Okay. I was tall, as my husband and son would attest to. That's all I had was height. So fast forward, went to Temple University and was just amazed. My high school, by the way, was small, 500 students total in the high school. So I wanted to go to a very big school. And so when I took some visits, Temple University was the one that was for me. It was near a city, could get away, could do so forth and so on. So it was great. That's where I met my soon-to-be husband at college. So Rick Brunson, and, the family, everybody likes to think about when they talk about our son and the ties to basketball and sports and so forth. And it's so funny because I say I was the first one in our family to, be at Temple, the first one who had the sports ties. And so everybody followed in my footsteps. So that's like a little joke I have.
You're the athlete.
I love it.
I love it.
Girl, take all the credit for that. Yes, you birthed them babies, girl. Yeah. Take the credit.
Yes.
You need your husband gets too much of it. You get more of it.
They get everything. It's just like, I get it. Jalen does give me my little kudos every now and then about the athletic ability. But yeah, we went to college together, moved back to New York, started a career in litigation, wanted to go to law school, was just there. And then when we got married, Rick was a journeyman, a free agent. We were kind of, following his dream. And I realized that, as much as I wanted to, at least I thought I wanted to have a career in law or be an attorney, knowing myself and how I am and dedicated to something, once I start something, I won't finish. And I couldn't see myself putting all those years into law school and then moving and then like leaving or taking the bar in New York and then being in Portland, Oregon. And that would cause for a miserable situation for me. I knew that. So then I just kind of reinvented myself and see where I wanted to go. And I actually truly love working behind the scenes. I don't need a lot of press, so to speak, or, I don't need a lot of people, accolades or something like that. So I pretty much feel as though I have cornered myself into a position where I was made to have a husband and son in professional sports. I don't know. Like I do everything behind the scenes. The
universe works in mysterious ways. It's the yin and the yang, right? Like everybody needs, I always say the game of basketball and the business of basketball are two different things. And sometimes everybody can do it. And sometimes they're like, this is my lane and I need someone else to fill the other lane and help kind of guide and navigate. And it's fascinating, to hear that you are like, I don't want to do that. And you know yourself that well, that even at that young age, you knew you wanted to do it, but at a different level, right? And now you've kind of just put yourself in that position to do it. The universe is so weird. You make all these steps and you're like, how is this taking me where I'm supposed to go? And then you blink and you're like, now it all makes sense, right? It totally makes sense. So you got a degree in business law, but did not go. So for everybody listening, and myself included, so what is business law? Because everybody hears law and they're like either police, the law enforcement side or the legal side. And then I feel like this might be a little bit in the middle. So help me understand what that is a little bit more.
That's a good question as I'm looking at my degree right now. Like so long ago. so long ago. So the business law, so it's excuse me, I graduated from School of Business Management, and the degree kind of encompasses working with contracts, business law. You're working on the corporate level and dealing with things that actually help maintain a corporation it's a very, and I'm giving you like a very blanket basic definition of business law, but it can help steer you into many different areas in the world of business. For example, I also had like a minor in real estate. So it's more of a contractual thing that I was interested in the analytical thinking portion of it.
That's what I was going to ask is like, what drew you to that?
I don't know. I love to learn. I love to think. So, and I love to analyze. So it encompassed all of that. Stayed away from Stat 22, Stat 21. I was not, I passed those classes, but I wasn't the one to do accounting or numbers and things like that. But it was more so of just reviewing, analyzing, assessing, and maintaining the, records and recordation and just even so I basically became a paralegal.
Okay.
And it's so funny because the attorneys that I worked with over the years, they would say, well, all the cases that we did and our clients gave you the gifts. Our clients would send you flowers. I'm the one that was in the courtroom. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm the one who's like the people person. I'm the person
you're the one who has to deal with everybody. Yep. They get to show up and puff the chest, but you're actually making the wheel turn. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so it's almost like when someone says they have a degree in communications, there's a wide array of things that you can go into. So you think of it that way when it says business law, because there's a gazillion levels of business, right? Yeah. And so it's just basically managing and assessing whatever level. So most of the time I did litigation. So that is a little bit more business law. I did litigation. I worked in health litigation, trust and estates. So what made those fun is because you were dealing with people. It wasn't like pushing paper. Every case was different. Mm-hmm. And so I was very fortunate to have that background because it has helped me in doing what I'm doing today. I tell you, it's like my brain has allowed me to now switch gears and not do it for profit, but now do it for, people on the nonprofit side and help people and just I'm thankful, should I say, for that. My son is in a position that he's allowing me to use my brain to now help others. So
I want to touch on that because you and your son co-founded, is it Second Round Foundation? I would love to hear, the backstory, where you guys got that name from, and what's your mission? Because you're the CFO. You're like the boss. I love that.
I tell you, it's for those people who are in the nonprofit space, I commend you, applaud you. This is hard work. This is very hard work, and it's rewarding work. So to give you the backstory on it, as people may know, Jaylen had a very good collegiate career playing basketball, Division I basketball at Villanova University. Worked really hard, both in the classroom and on the court. Graduated. I feel like I'm giving a resume right now, so stop me at any time. But
no, I love it. Keep
graduated. He graduated in 3 years, when he won 2 national championships with his teammates. So I would say he had a very successful collegiate career. And coming out of college, he was Player of the Year. And got all these accolades, works really hard and so forth and so on. And with someone, if I guess on paper, if you look, you'd say, okay, he's aspiring to be in the league and get drafted. Maybe you'll say, yeah, he should do fairly well. He was drafted in the second round. And for some people, looking at him in his career in college, you would say, he's good, but he's not that good, looking on paper, right? So when he was drafted, for me, because my husband was not drafted, I just wanted him to, play basketball. However he got to the league, I did not care. When we found out and the world found out, he was drafted 33rd, and that's in the second round. So that's where the name came from, Second Round Foundation, because we believe that, for those people who are overlooked, those people who are underestimated, those people who are not, that don't have a voice, that need a second chance. It's a broad definition of the Second Round Foundation, but it was born out of him being drafted in the second round. And to further that point, we knew that he had all this success going into, but still yet wasn't good enough in the eyes of some. And we thought, that was a running joke, so to speak, in our family, because we're like, remember, you weren't supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. Put your head down and work. But his dad would say to him, listen, son, after the draft, everybody's at 0. The draft is just a draft. So now it's where the work comes in. So forget about all that, who was drafted, first, second, 52nd, or whatever. You all are now at the same playing field, same level, and you all have to work to make a mark. And so we kept that, and for a whole year, it was a joke. Second round, we would just look at each other, second round, just kind of building that momentum. And then we thought, from when we could start something, we started doing little things, planting seeds early on without developing or creating the foundation, but we did things. I told him, it's when he got drafted, that you don't have to wait till you're an all-star to make a mark. You don't have to wait. And we just started building on something then by doing things in the community. He was running camps at his high school and giving the money back in the form of scholarships to graduating seniors. Wow. So that's how it started. So I don't know if I give, second round can encompass a lot of things, but it started out of him being a second round draft pick and having someone with all those success and still wasn't good enough to some.
Well, he's so lucky to have you, because starting a foundation is no small feat. Like, it is work. It costs money. It is work. And it is not something you just start up and it works. You have to put the work in to make it keep working. Right. And he's so lucky that he has you to be able to help guide and navigate with the education and experience to do that. Right. And I think I always find, especially in the NBA, there's guys that try and do too much too fast and then they have to walk it back, or guys that just never really get into it. And I'm a big believer in, you have a responsibility to impact others regardless of your platform. You do, because somebody's watching, and if you can just change one person, Megan and I say this about this show, we can change one person or inspire one person. We've done our job, and we can keep moving. We've done our job. But how for you as you navigate this, one of the questions I have is how, are you mom and you're CFO? How has that gone on? Because I'm sure there's a lot of conversations around different things. Then you have to put on the mom hat, and then you need to put on the CFO hat, and you need to put on all these different hats. How do you kind of navigate that? That's got to be just so much.
It is. And sometimes I have to think, is he not answering my call because he knows he has a different deliverable? It's like, I have to think about that sometimes. I'm like, and I have to pace myself, and I have to know when to go in and but the thing is, they all know when I really mean business. Jaylen knows, we have a great relationship.
Does he get the full name? Do you give him the full name? What is how does he know that that's that moment? There's got to be some tell you have.
It's my eyes. When I give him this look, and he's just he'll look down. He's like, "Mom, don't do it." I have this look. Apparently my kids will tell you I have this look. And once I give this look, it's just kind of watch out. And he knows that I'm not playing. But, and sometimes I have to get a little ugly, and when I say ugly, it's just at times for him, I know my lane, so to speak. His father's with him every day because his father's a coach with the Knicks. So it's kind of hard where I used to get daily calls. Now it's kind of and I've done it too with my own parents. Oh, I talked to mom earlier, so I didn't have to call you dad, that type of thing. Yeah. So it's when you see your dad every day, I'm like, dude, I called you. And he's like, but no, dad told me that's not why I called, So there's certain things that we have to kind of balance between the two of us. And it's not easy. I can tell you that. But it's I wouldn't have it any other way. Again, there's a lot of people in the market that he's in. There's a lot going on. And now that we have this new layer of the foundation. So it's now I got something else to talk to you about. And for me, every opportunity that he has to make an impact, or like you said, just even to reach one person, I take advantage of it, and I know there could be times where, it's a tough game. He's tired. He's not in the mood, but he understands there's a bigger purpose, and he's so understanding of that. I know a lot of times he's like, oh, I'm tired, but once he's there and once he's able to connect, he's brilliant. So he'll always say, Mom, I'll never not do anything. It's just that, I'm going to whine before I get there. But once I'm there, it's fine.
I'm going to make your life miserable for the hour leading into it. And then when I'm there, I'm going to thank you for it.
And that's exactly what he said one time. He said exactly I'm just going to whine. I'm going to complain. And it's not even complaining. It's not even the complaining. It's the lack of communication, I would say, is would be a complaint. Yes. Don't get the response or whatever. And then he just shows up and it's just
dude, dude, that's what I say. I'm like, dude, hello.
Exactly. But he's there's so many people pulling at him, and he has a job to do. And this year alone, I would say they've had a tough schedule, early on. They're not a lot of road games, a lot of back-to-backs. So it's just trying to find time where he is able to have those touch points, because anybody can write it. I always tell him anybody can write a check, but are you in it? I want him to be able to understand what he's getting involved in, not just say, oh yeah, I support that. Well, if you support it, we're going to support it wholeheartedly. And that's what we try to do. So whenever we're committed to something or whatever that we're involved with, which we call SRF for short, for Second Round Foundation, whatever we're involved in, it's a full-fledged involvement. We're there with the community, the organization, our family members support. And so it's something that we take very seriously.
Yeah. Well, take me through a normal day for you, like as being the CFO of SFR. SRF. I was like, let me do that.
SRF, yep.
SRF. Take me through a normal day and what it's like, planning events, working with Jaylen's schedule. You're the person who's in charge of it all. I feel like just like organizing everything. Take me through a normal day and how you, make sure that like if Jaylen like is supporting the, where he's going and kind of learning about what he's going to be talking about and all that.
That's a great question. And I got to tell you, you mentioned something, at least Kate, I think, had said earlier. It's just like, some players do more in this space and some don't. I find that we take baby steps. We're not trying to hit a home run. We're not trying to have numbers that, are hollow, like here 1 minute and next year the foundation's gone. We're trying to have sustainability. So it's a process in where we have grown. We have learned a lot. Jaylen is actually very involved with the Covenant House. So rather than reinvent the wheel, I felt initially it was kind of like, oh, let's do this over here. Let's do this over here. Sprinkle a little bit here, sprinkle a little bit here. And then I'm like, this year, after learning a lot from the NBPA, some of their leadership and just going around and just getting involved, I realized that you won't necessarily see an impact if you're just like all over the place. You're going to want to grow with an organization, grow and learn and just see where you fit in. And so the momentum that we've had over the last year, we're only like a year, like 14 months old at the foundation. We're fairly new. We're still in the infancy stage. So I wear many hats. Okay. So there is the president. I am not the president, as you notice, I'm the CFO. So the president of the foundation, her name is Nigel Ali Williams, and she is tremendous in this space. She has a huge background in 501c3 organizations. So the one good thing I know is I know what I can't do. Okay. I know I know my limitations. Okay. So surround myself with a lot of people who are brilliant and can teach me something. There's a saying that if you're the smartest person in the room,
get a new room.
To get a new room, right? The smartest person in the circle. So a typical day for me, so I am responsible for like coordinating and organizing fundraising events, program events. And I'm also responsible for paying the bills. Again, we have a wonderful fiscal sponsor. Again, this is not my wheelhouse initially. I have a background with a lot of things with respect to contracts and, legal terminology, but I am not someone who has a CPA and I don't do that. So I pretty much maintain and organize and manage all the pieces. And some days I'm on Zoom calls all day because what I've learned in this space is about building relationships. So it's not contractual. And that's the hardest thing that I've learned because I'm not one to be on the phone a lot. I'm not one to be on Zoom calls a lot. And I just read a lot. I read, I analyze. So this is definitely something new to me. I am learning. And I would say that on any given day between Jaylen's contractual obligations, whether it's with, a brand partner, I'm reviewing some of those things. And on the nonprofit side, I am trying to see how we can build relationships to see if we can raise money to help support some of our initiatives.
Love it. Seems like you just got a lot going. I mean, I think, not only is your son in the NBA, your husband also coaches in the NBA. So is there a time where you guys just sit at the table and you're like, we are not talking basketball. We need to just sit here and talk about worldly news? Or is it just intertwined? Because I've heard different sides. I've heard people say, I love working with my family and my spouse and we make it all work. And I have some that are like, It doesn't work, right? And I think everybody's different, but it's definitely one of those. How does your daughter fit into this dynamic? Because I feel like there's this dynamic wheel, and then how is she managed with not only the famous place that you guys play in New York, your son is in the NBA, your husband's a coach. How does she manage herself in all of this whole ecosystem?
She does a fairly good job. She keeps, and she always has kept all of us grounded. She's like she's mini me, but she's like the boss of the family.
I love it.
We tiptoe around her.
Stop it!
It's like we don't want to we don't want to upset her. We don't want, and I'm just like, and Jaylen would even say sometimes, I could never get away with that. She keeps us grounded, and she's 22. She recently graduated from college, and she keeps me in the know. Like, there are things that I want to say or do or especially on social media or something. And she's just like, nobody talks like that. You have to, nobody, she's like, what are you, she keeps us grounded. She's actually, right now, she's helping me be a liaison on the other side, on the business side. And she's working on the various communications that we are trying to put out. And again, it's like baby steps. So rather than put out something that makes no sense, I have to run it through her first, and she'll actually help her brother with, upcoming interviews or something like that he's got going on, and just kind of, and also fashion sense, apparently. I know they have those conversations before every game.
That's huge. So she's dressing him before he's walking and getting the
has her
snapped.
Input.
And
yes, because apparently that's a thing, toggle walk or whatever. And but she definitely has a level of input. And mind you, growing up, yes, as parents, we have a responsibility to, with our children to do that. But she sacrificed a lot as well. And maybe not by her own choice initially. They're 4.5 years apart. They're very close. And, she definitely understands that, people, are very fond of or have her brother, fond of her brother, and he has a following. But she's also very true to herself and wanting to have her own mark. And so I think for her, she is methodical and she's very deliberate. And if there's something that she doesn't want to do, she's not going to do it. And she'll let us know. She'll let him know. But she's supportive all the way around. We are so proud of her. She's very competitive too in her own like. So both of them graduated from Villanova, one in 3 years, one in 4 years. She now wears the torch that she has the highest GPA out of the two of them. So, or excuse me, the entire family now.
Let's go. Good for her.
I love it. I love to see a girl.
So she doesn't let us forget.
How do you feel like your path in all of this, right? Like, it's not like you knew you were going to have a child in the NBA. You obviously married into this and you kind of knew what was coming. How do you feel like your career in litigation, right? Like, I always say to people, I didn't come into this business wanting to be an NBA agent. Like, it wasn't by design for me. How for you have you used what you had to get where you are?
I always tell younger people, I'm like, no one in their right mind would say, oh, I want to marry an NBA player.
I don't know, Sandra. I feel like there's a lot of people that are saying that, but they don't actually mean it. They say it out loud, but they don't know what that means. It looks good, but it isn't. It doesn't feel good.
You're right. Correct. And because I go, we all go to school. For those of us who've gone to school, you aspire to do things with your degree and so forth or so on. But there's a lot that you have to give up when you're supporting a professional athlete. I don't care what sport it is, or someone who's in the business of the sport, and so it's rewarding as you can, this business of basketball is rewarding. And I always say to myself and to others, younger women who are involved in the this business through their spouse, that this sport can bring you so much joy, but it can also cause such heartache. You know, my husband was on, like, I don't know, people know the count, 9 teams, I don't know, unguaranteed contracts or whatever, you know, and we know that when Jaylen is aspiring to be a basketball player or an NBA player, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what are you like?
Like,
why?
are you sure?
Like,
Yeah, you're like,
Like, are you sure?
But when he was little, he wanted to do it from when he was little, you know, and it's just like, go play baseball, go play any sport, have fun, go play football, have fun. We were just like, because we didn't want him to kind of just, you know, Rick was like, oh no, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Let him play whatever he wants. I don't want to be that dad. And to his credit, he stayed away from it. Like, Jaylen played soccer. Jaylen wanted to play. He played every sport, but at the end, he always came back to basketball. And so when he realized, you know, like 8th, 9th grade, I really want to do this. I want to play basketball. Okay. His father's like, well, I'll help you get there. It's hard, you know. And so he just kept going and going. He just never stopped. And even when his father would ask him, is it too hard? Is it too hard for you? And Jaylen would say no. And mind you, it was as a mother and a wife of a professional basketball player, I made a conscious effort. I learned early on to let my kids know that that's daddy's job. That's not our life.
Ooh, say it again. I need that again. I need it again. Yeah. Go ahead, say it again. I need it again. That's beautiful.
That is daddy's job. That it's not our life. And I had to instill that in Jaylen. I mean, here's a kid, kindergarten. His father played in Portland. He wouldn't go to bed until he watched the game. Oh. I said, we can tape it, you know, DVR. No, mommy, no. And then after the game, he would wait for Rick to call. And he would say, Dad, you missed your free throw, or Dad, you didn't get in the game, or Dad, you know. And that was Jaylen. You know, he had to be up at school the next morning. And I used to think I'm the worst mother in the world. How can I let kindergartner what? But that's what he wanted, and he was so disciplined about it. It was almost as if that was his job to watch his dad. So we, you know, as they get older, and I might be digressing from your question, but as they get older, you know, they start to realize some of these things. But I can tell you, it hit Jaylen really hard of what his father was doing and all the, you know, the changes, and, you know, why does our family have to move all the time? You know, else's family. Well, not everybody else. Our neighbors are not professional athletes. And it wasn't until he was in about 6th grade that some of the friends around him, their parents were moving because of sports, college coaches, this, that. And he was just like, wow, we're not the only one. Because until then, it was just him. It was just our world. And so I had to quickly educate my children and myself, to be honest with you. I found myself like training my brain over the years, and to let Jaylen know, as the oldest, that don't get down on yourself. Yes, your dad is traveling, your dad is not here or whatever, but you can see your dad anytime you want. There's other kids whose father are in the military, could be on a submarine somewhere, and they can't call them, can't see them on TV, can't jump on a plane and readily go visit them. So I said, you know, don't make it seem like it's more than what it is. That's a job choice. That's what he wants to do. And, you know, we benefit from it, but it's just our reality. So
what was that like going home to New York? Like, you know, you're from New York, and now your son went from Dallas to New York. It was a little bit of a shake-up there for a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a couple days. Had the headlines over there. What was that like for you to be able to go home with your son and play in the Garden? And then dump on top of that, your husband works for the Knicks. Like, you basically brought back to New York, you know, your whole family back to New York in one foul swoop. That's a feat in itself. So how was that for your family to be able to have you guys all together? Not just your immediate family, but your family and lineage, right? Back in New York.
Yes. Well, I can tell you, my parents I've born and raised on Long Island. My parents have lived in Long Island my entire life, right? However, after COVID and they're in retirement, we finally convinced them to move.
Stop.
They didn't have to move south, but they moved south to sell the house. And my dad said for years, you don't give up New York real estate. Jaylen he says, I'm going to wait till he finishes at Villanova. Okay. Finished at Villanova. Wait. And guess what? When he got to New York, he's just like, I told you, you don't give up New York real estate. And
so did he keep it? Did he keep it? And he was right?
No, he was right. Yes. Wow. So they're in Florida, and yeah. So, but it's the cold weather. He wouldn't have liked it up here anyway. But yes, it's great to be back in New York, and we're East Coast people. Dallas was great. Dallas was amazing. I've made tons of friends in Dallas, with the organization, a great organization, but there's nothing like being in New York. And I got to tell you, I've gone to mostly every home game this year, definitely, and last year. And it feels different, special every time. Every time I go into that arena, wow. Considering my husband had 2 stints, so to speak, with New York, to see the energy in the building. I don't know what it was like in years prior to Jaylen. I only heard stuff on TV or whatever, and some of the woes that go on in the sports world, but it is amazing to be back there and to see some of the people who remember Jaylen when he was a little kid. Some of those, and
that's special.
And when I'm walking in, I never in my wildest dreams, if you asked me, would Jaylen ever play for the New York Knicks? There was never a thought in my mind that he would. I just wanted him to play basketball and be in the league, and wherever he landed is where he landed. And now to see that it's just come full circle, and to see some of Rick's old teammates who remember him, it's almost like they're proud uncles. I mean, I'm talking from like Larry Johnson, Patrick, Latrell. Wow. They're all so happy for him, happy for Rick, and they support him from a distance. Allen, Houston, it's just amazing. And he remembers those things, like he remembers the things that he used to do in the locker room. He remembers how he tried to mimic them. So it's kind of like he was built for it, because
the universe girl, we keep saying she is funny like that. I want to ask you to, back to before all of this, back when you were just doing, litigation. You were obviously a woman in a leadership position. Do you have any challenges in that leadership position that you either had to overcome, or one that you use to now be a woman in sports in a leadership position that you reflect back on that you can bring forward?
Yeah. What I learned early on in my position at the various law firms, and also working for general counsel for a big company, is that, by the way, like the legal team is like the hub of most companies, most corporate worlds. They touch every department, and I learned a challenge that most people don't understand is that everyone has a job to do, and most people want to believe or feel as if they're doing their job and doing it right. Even if you feel like this person's not cutting it, they're screwing up, they have to feel as though they are doing their job. And I feel as though I learned that early on, to help manage the various personalities. It's kind of hard supporting 4 attorneys that all work differently at the same time, and I would say that was the one challenge that I had to learn, and that helps translate into this business of sport. Because believe it or not, there are people who in this business that feel like, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm not going to play games. You're playing a game, whether or not you realize that you're playing or not. You're playing the game. There's a game in every level of business, and you have to, in order to be successful, I feel as though you have to tread as though you're dealing with yourself. I mean, how do you want to be treated on the other end, right? So, and I feel like I could write a book. We could have cocktails after this, because I feel as though most people in this
say less. We're there.
There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and it's about relationships. And it's about trusting people.
I always say that, and Megan and I talk about this a lot, the sports world is so small. And I always say to these people that want to get into the sports world, it comes with a level of commitment, because you're going to have to give up sacrifices. Your friends that work 9 to 5, you can't go to that happy hour every Thursday if you want to work in sports or be dedicated to the sports industry, because it is a 24/7 industry, 365. It doesn't stop. But at the same breath, everyone you meet, you're going to run into again. One way or the other, good or bad, you are going to meet that person again. And it might be flip scripts. They might be your boss. You might be their boss. They might be on another team. You might play for them. I mean, I literally in Atlanta right now, I have 2 of my first clients were Landry Fields, who played in New York, and Wesley Matthews. And Landry's now the GM in Atlanta, and Wesley plays for Landry. So make that make sense. And so it's funny of you just, to be a good person, do the right thing, right? And treat everybody with respect. You don't have to like them, but you need to respect them and the role they play and the job that they have. And even the lady that doesn't let you go where you want to go, and don't have the right credential and all this, and you're like, okay, I'm very frustrated because this is not how it's supposed to be, but you have a job to do, and I'm going to let you do that while I fix this on the other side. But so many people get in this mentality of I'm just going to bully my way through things, and especially to women, right? I'm just going to kind of steamroll you and think you don't know what you're doing. And then I like to call them aha moments, where I'm like, it's going to come back. It's you said something that's so true. Do you know how many times, and this is even back to college, because when Rick and I dated in college, I don't really care about the fanfare. I don't really care about all that. It'd be front and center. You'll find me sitting right here in the corner in the bleachers in the stands, just waiting. And there's been times that, I've tried to go where I knew I could go. Because of my credentials or whatever. And they're like, no, man, And I'm like, okay. Go. And then someone will come out, well, why didn't you tell me who you were? I'm like, you were doing your job. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, who do you know who I am? Or drop a name. What does that mean? That means nothing to the average. So I'm like, you do what you have to do. And a lot of times, I understand some people will blow a gasket and then want to have your head or call the boss and say this person did X. And no. But you know what? They're going to remember you better that way. It's sometimes I fail at it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, take a breath. It's okay. But at the same time, I try and give myself grace and give everybody grace. And I think especially for women in sports, there's so few women in leadership positions that have influence and impact. And I think that, that's what the show is, right? It's about celebrating and elevating women who don't have the typical path, or if you do have the typical path to sports. I don't play basketball. I work in basketball. I think, you came from litigation and now you're running, a foundation for your son and the CFO for it. So I think it's about just being a good person, staying the path and finding your purpose, and you'll end up where you should be. And I think so many young people nowadays are like, I want Kate's chapter 20 to be my chapter 1. And it's like, you don't see how hard this is. That's why I say when people want to start foundations, it's like, yes, but let me give you the 10-page book of what goes into this. Because you're not just going to get to be like, I have one. You actually have to show up to it. You actually have to fundraise for it. You have to participate in it. You have to actually give out money. You can't just say you have one and dump it somewhere. You actually have to give it out. But there's no class for that. There's no class. And so many people want to do it. And I always try and encourage young women, especially in sports, to just, take opportunities, be over-prepared, and just be a good person. Because I've found, and I was going to ask you, my question leading into this was, you're Jalen's mom. right? And some people see you as Jalen's mom. They see you as Rick's wife. And you're also Sandra. And you're also the CFO of this company, right? And you're also your daughter's mom. Like, you're all these things. Have you had an experience where maybe it was a less than opportune time that someone may have doubted you, not given you the same level of respect or experience level because you are Jalen's mom or because you're Rick's wife? Is it, oh, she's just doing this because? Have you had that experience? And if you have, can you unpack it for us of kind of how you handled it? Because I'm sure that someone has just been like, oh, you're just his mom. You know what I mean? She's just doing it because, yeah, okay, watch and learn. That's what I say. Watch and learn.
If there is someone who's done that, it was never brought to my attention, at least not yet, you know?
Good.
And maybe that time will come, but I got to tell you, I am very methodical. I am very slow I do not, especially when it comes to something as big as my son and, you know, and and helping him build a legacy beyond basketball, you know? And I there's probably somebody out there. However, I try to do my homework, and I'm not perfect, but I'm not in no way, shape, or form imperfect. But I think what I try to do is if there's something that I want to get involved in or something I want to learn about, or I do my homework and I try to ask questions. And again, it's about allowing people the space to feel as though they're doing their job. And I would never try to be something that I'm not, you know? So that title, yes, CFO is great, but you know what? I'm an overseer, okay? I oversee because there are people who are much better at this job than I am that help me connect the dots that are, you know, like when people talk about a foundation, they think, oh, great. And do you employ people? No, no one's employed. Nobody's getting a check for this. Okay. And it's like the money that goes in, there's people like, Sandra, you're really smart. You can probably do all of that yourself. You don't need to hire a fiscal sponsor. And perhaps maybe 10 years from now, I wouldn't need to. But right now, this is bigger than me.
Yeah.
It's what we need. There's compliance issue. You know, you have to do things the right way. So it's like, I think as I grow into this, I try to, I don't want to say be vulnerable, allow myself to be vulnerable because I know I don't know everything.
Yeah.
But you can best believe I will find the answer. That's the one thing. I may not know it. Yeah. I will find the answer. And that's what I pride myself in is finding the answer.
That's amazing.
Think it's like a space thing, Megan. Like Megan and I are always joking. Like we were just learning on like another show about something else. And it's like the more you can learn, the more, like I always tell my team too, like I don't know the answer to everything. And I'm glad I don't. Yeah. That's why I have people that are better at things than I am. And, you know, I want to have people that can do things I can't because there's things I can do that they can't. You know what I mean? And I think
exactly,
you know, that's what makes the world go around, right? Is being able to celebrate everybody's unique aspect. But you said that you're methodical, and then you said your daughter's methodical. So I think I know. I love that.
She is. And I think for women, perhaps, because when I look at the things that she does, I'm like, it's kind of like you want to know the answer before you get into something. You know, you want to
be prepared.
You want to be prepared.
Yes.
And you can't be prepared all the time, but you can at least, as you don't have the answers or you don't know the outcome, but as it says, you can do the things that you know you need to do in preparation to get where you want to be. And you may not get there the way you thought you'd get there, or perhaps you pivot. You know, I in talking to one of my dear friends who, you know, like some people say, what's your plan B? And she told me, you know, I don't like to think about a plan B. What's my next chapter? Like, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's so good.
Because plan B sounds like you failed, right? And I mean, I think that's from a dear friend of mine. Her name is Sarinka. I don't want to steal that from her, but she tells me that. And I was just like, you know, that's so true. And I think we may be, I don't jump at the first thing, you know, I I try and learn and see, okay, yeah, that was good. Hold on right there. Let me see if there's something else there before I just jump into something. So I feel as though in this space, if there's one thing I can teach her, is that just do your due diligence, and just, if think it through. If you want to do it, do it, do it. And you may not have all the answers, but just try along the way. Just educate yourself.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about young women that want to get like internships or things like that. And Megan and I always say, like, make opportunities, take opportunities, but take something from the opportunity, right? Don't just show up because it sounds cool and you can put it on your resume of like, I volunteered here, I did this, that, the other here. Take something from that opportunity.
I tell you, if I could have a sports business classroom back in my day, if I could have all these things, I was like, I had apps. Listen, it was like, look, blinders. I went in, I want to do this. Great. Okay. My parents didn't even know. I don't think my parents had the telephone number to my college coach's office. Okay. Like, I mean, we ship you off. Good luck. Thanks. Bring her back in one piece. See you at Thanksgiving, Christmas break, or whatever. And now, like, all these opportunities, all these different things where you're able to test out or just dabble in a career path that you think you might want to go. I'm like, man, there's so much that I could do. Right? If I was, and it's getting earlier and earlier. Like, you can do this in high school. Like, a lot of kids Jalen's high school. They're doing sports journalism. They're doing the games, the high school basketball games. These young people are commentating, color analysts, and all these various things that I could never have dreamed about when I was their age.
No, it's so special.
It's amazing.
It's really cool. And like for me, so I have an NFL background, like I work in NFL right now, but it's funny because I actually used to watch Jaylen when he was at the Mavs. It was like, I didn't know who he was. And he kind of was like this new spark of energy. And I'm like, who is this guy that's like this up and coming player? So it was so cool. And then I remember when he went to the Knicks and it was like this huge ordeal. And now, where he is today, like really took over the Knicks. He's like the guy. And I love that. Now we've been talking about like Jaylen and everybody, but we haven't touched on the Motherload show. So I wanted to ask you about your own podcast, how you started that, and everything about that. Because you're so humble, just sitting there talking about everybody else.
Tips and tricks, Sandra. Come on, we're little newbie podcasters over here. You can give us the tips and tricks.
I'm a newbie. Okay, so oh wow, that's so funny. That just kind of, okay, I love sports. I absolutely love sports. And for me, I watch sports. People are like, oh, you only watch No, I watch everybody, everybody of interest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just going to watch teams that don't have a fight in the game, but I'm watching it. And that Motherload show, it is kind of a way, I have questions, I have questions. Listen, I would love to take a deep dive into sports, but that's probably not a good thing for me, considering who my son is and
you need
the
a proxy
that he plays.
You need the proxy, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just chirping, you're the production in their ear, and they're just saying it. So you get to ask what you want, but it's not your face. That's what you need.
I know. Listen, I tell you, I don't need any sound bites out there or anything. So the Motherload kind of came. Jaylen was our first interview. I was like, let me just play around with this because I was kind of winding down in my career as a paralegal for general counsel, which when I tell you is demanding, right? And I had no time, right? And then it's just like a friend of the family, and I. We just talked all the time, and we just covered a full gamut of stuff via telephone. And whenever we just talked and talked. And it's like, we really would have some fun with this if we made it into a podcast. So it's just like, yeah, that'll be great. And mind you, that was like 2 years ago. And so we had like these lost files. We were like recording some things. I would fly into Chicago, the Chicagoland area for work. Like I would go in like once a quarter, and then I would go to the studio there and record with him, And to be honest with you, Jaylen was the only one who knew. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want, again, this is me. I don't want to start something and not finish it. I don't want to throw it out there, put it in the universe and tell, like, especially my husband, like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. And then he's like, see, you didn't finish. What did you know? It's kind of like my Peloton he'll say is getting dusty right now because I was killing it for the first 2 years and now I haven't touched it. But so I wanted to kind of see where it would go. I wanted to like nurture it to see like if we could just have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And that's how it kind of came about. And maybe one day we will show that interview with Jaylen because it's special, the banter between mother and son. But that podcast is, for me, I learned something from each interviewee or each guest. Mm-hmm. I think I know them. And it's just like I learned something new from them that give us like these, what we call like golden nuggets. You know, I learned something about their path, their journey. And if, as you said, if one person can be encouraged or learn from that interview, then it was worth it. It was worth all the extra hours going into the podcast. Mind you, I just want to do the interview. I don't want to do all the stuff in between. And I told him, I don't want to do all the stuff in between.
She's like, I'm like, I just want to show up. Just want to show up.
Yeah, I'm like, exactly. And that's probably a bad thing on my part. But I listen, I know what I'm good at.
I just say I try and give everybody else the opportunity to do their part. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do it all, so I'm trying to let everyone else have their lanes.
No. So we're having fun. We're having fun right now, and lining up some really special people who are what we consider they're exceptional humans. Yes, most of them are mothers who happen to either be exceptional in their own right and or have raised exceptional humans. And you'd be surprised that what these women have overcome, you know, and just like I have a friend, I can tell you, I didn't know she's a lawyer. Great. You know, I have a lot of friends who are lawyers. I guess I attract them for, you know, we all think alike, right? So, and learning and talk, I've known her for years. I didn't know she was a pharmacist first. She was a pharmacist, and then she went to law school while raising 3 kids. And I'm like, well, most people went, oh, I'm a pharmacist, which is a great career path. Be done. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm a pharmacist. And then she went back to school and she became a lawyer. And she works for a huge company in pharmaceuticals, right? She's like lead counsel. And I'm like, what made you want to do that? And her children play basketball and professional basketball and all this stuff. And it's just like, so it's the things that you learn and the drive, you know, and it's amazing how moms, we reinvent ourselves for whatever. And I guess me with the podcast, I'm reinventing myself.
I love it. Well, you just get to try new things. Like, that's what I think is so cool is now in this world, you know, women don't have to just be one thing. I always say to young women, like, you know, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be this, and dang sure didn't think I was going to have children and be able to be an executive. Like, when you're in a space and you're able, I fail most days, I get it right some days, you just keep showing up and you keep learning and thriving and being fluid. But it's we're gonna have to come check out your show. We're gonna have to be spot on guests for your show. We're just gonna pull up one day to film it. We're gonna be on. I need some mom tips because my kids are, you know, I have younger kids and I just embarrass them. They went back to school from the break, Sandra. I'm very happy. They need that structure.
They need that structure and they need that time away.
Yeah, so do I.
Trust me, I've been there. I've been there. But then you know what? It's like, I can tell you what, as a mom, whatever my kids wanted to get involved in, I jumped in, like, didn't even think. You know, oh, Erica, you want to be a Girl Scout? Okay. And then I go to the meeting and they're like, we need a mom to help with the daisies. And I'm like, okay. Like, what was I thinking? Did that, right? And Jaylen, you know, when he was in high school and doing all these different things. And I'm like, okay, I'll volunteer. I volunteer. And I'm like, what? I don't have the time. I knew I didn't have it, but I did it anyway. And I'll do anything once, you know, I'll help. And if I'm going to be there with the kids, if I want to drive them to practice or sit and wait and do work, I might as well get involved. And that's how it all started. So whatever they were involved in, I quickly joined because it kind of helped me connect with them. And they were also very proud of what I was doing. Mind you, in being, I'm that, they're like that, what do you call it? Again, I'm so far removed from elementary school, but room mom, that room parent or room mom or whatever. Did that once too, but it's like,
did it all.
Okay, I'll try it
I love that you're like, I did it once. See, that's how I am. I try a couple things, and then if I know I'm not going to be successful, it's like, I'll just let someone else have that amazing opportunity. Yeah.
But at least you tried.
Yeah.
But you tried it. You tried.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to pass on. We could try it once. We won't quit. As much as I want to get out of what I'm doing, but, we won't quit. That's what I tell my kids. We won't quit. We will see it through. We'll wait till our term is over. We'll move on to the next thing. So
your commitment is done. No, we're gonna have to come check it out. We're coming. We're gonna reach out and get booked on that because I want to.
I don't have kids, but I am an aunt, so I can.
See, the thing is, you don't. And one of our most recent, actually next week, or someone that we're interviewing, she doesn't have any children, but it's kind of like it's not necessarily you have to be a mother. But it's about those instincts that help nurture other people, to help people, and just what you do in the community.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Motherly type instincts.
Love that.
Well, and that's why I think women in sports are so important, because especially in like male-driven sports, I was having this conversation with a G League team yesterday that needs to have a conversation with one of their employees, and they don't have a woman in leadership. And so the question is now awkward of who's going to have this awkward conversation from a man to a young woman. And I'm like, well, you guys should have a woman in leadership to help with this. This is the exact reason we need to see more women throughout the NBA and NFL and other, leagues have leadership roles, because yes, can we come in and do the job and be great at it? Yes. But we also are very intuitive, and we have an empathic center to us that might approach things. I can either have a really hard conversation or I can make it softer. I have the ability to do both. Some men, I feel like it's just, there's nothing. There's no empathy, emotion. It's just very transactional, especially in business. And at the end of the day, we're all just people. Like, I just want to be a good person and make the world better and work with amazing people and do cool shit. Other than that, I'm good. I don't need the other side to it, but it's so fascinating to watch you and hear from you of just your path here, because so many young women are like, I have to be in sports and I have to go this way. And you're in sports, not on the athletic side, but on the philanthropic side. Mm-hmm. And there's such a need and space for that. What would you tell, 2 questions. What would you tell a younger you? And then what would you, she's like, run, just don't do it. Just run. One word, run. What would you tell a younger you? And then what would you tell a young lady who wants to be in your shoes now, or your career now?
I would tell a younger me to try everything once, to not overlook an opportunity because I'm not well versed in it, to not be afraid. I think my younger self, I have probably overlooked some or passed some opportunities by because I thought I wasn't qualified. And I see in today's world, and after going through what I've gone through in various companies and things like that, that while you have to have some knowledge and some education with respect to that field, but you don't necessarily have to know everything. Mm-hmm. And when you get there, they're going to teach you what they want you to know anyway, right? So
yeah, it's true.
You're going to have to learn their way. But your way might get you there, but then you're going to learn their way, and that keeps you there.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you look back and you see all the skill sets, what people would list, and that would be something that would set them apart from what I've helped hire people, I've trained people, and it's just like, yeah, that looks good on paper, but are you an individual person that's a team player? Are you, there's so many other attributes that go into the workforce or careers than what actually is like, boilerplate. So I would tell myself to not sell myself short on some opportunities. And for a young woman that is looking to strive and to be in some way, shape, or form involved with sports, I would tell her to be true to herself. Be true to herself, and I mean that in a way that the sky's the limit, so to speak. The work that you put in, you may have one goal in mind or one dream, thinking that you want to be here. And sometimes your path is not a direct shot, but along the way, you may find something that means just as much to you or even better than what you thought you wanted. And I think for me, like, I know I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be a lawyer. And I've had many opportunities to go to law school. And then I thought, well, that law school's in the city. My kids are in the suburb. That's not going to happen, or, oh my gosh, I never paid for school. I don't want to pay for that now. I'm making more money than most lawyers. There was crazy things, but that path, what I thought I wanted, what I've done getting to where I am today, I wouldn't change it for the world. So I would really want them to think about being true to who they are. I know myself. I don't think I would have been married had long enough have I went to law school and my husband jumped around the league that he did. That's not my makeup. I went to school, I do this, I want to do that, so I don't see it as a sacrifice where I sold myself short, but in finding my worth, I found what I truly embodied and what I love to do. So I know that's a long-winded answer.
You're changing lives. No, it's amazing. I mean, I think the thing that for me, philanthropic stuff, it's really hard work, but it's really rewarding work, because I always ask the question, what's more important? Do you want someone to give their money or their time? I said it earlier today, anybody can write a check that doesn't get invested in the process beyond the check, because once that check's spent, what's the next turn? And I think what you're building and what you and Jaylen and your family are accomplishing is changing the narrative around athletes, but it's also changing the narrative around women who are evolving and fluid and changing not who they are, but what they're able to give. And I think that's what I see in you, is you're constantly the same person. You're just becoming a better version of yourself every step along the way. And that's so powerful.
I need you in the morning.
Right?
I can put it on my mirror in the morning.
Read it.
I'm going to do that, like Kris Kardashian had that like hologram of herself. So I'm just going to start sending everyone holograms of me. Just
I'll take one. Thank you.
Just don't unplug me. Just don't unplug me. We'll be fine. We'll be like
that. I definitely need that. No. I need that, because I tell you, I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, I don't know if I retired. I left one field and I'm in another. And I think the work here is 10 times harder in that there's so much to do,
So much to
finish one thing, there's so much to do, and there's so many people that you want to help, but you have to learn how to say no, not yet, or
that's got to be really hard,
crawl.
Right? Because everyone knows you're the money one now. You're in charge. They know to come to you when they need something. You get to be the. I always say this: send me an email and we'll get back to you.
You can't
do that. It's hard.
We all at some point, a place in time, whether you are a wife, mother, you're always the one that is designated to say no.
100%.
You're always 100%. The full guy.
It comes better. I told you, it's either hard for me or soft for me. Like, we're either going to have a really tough conversation or I'm going to soften it for you. Women know how to do that. I think it's like by default. Yeah,
I like you're saying, because I would also say, is this a gift or is a loan? Like, what do you want? Like, what do you? We're talking money, so
yeah. I always say I've been doing this too long. There's something on the other side of this, so like I probably can guess what it is, but let's just cut to the chase. What do you want? Can I do it? Yes or no? And keep it moving. Like, let's make life easy for everyone. But yeah, you're the one holding the money now. So you're like, are you really my friend because you like me or because you're going to ask me for something on our 5th happy hour meetup? Which one? Yeah.
Tough world.
Then you get to say no. And then Jaylen gets to look like a hero. He gets to show up and look like a hero. And you're like, do you know how many no's I have to get to get you here? Yeah. You should just keep a tally for him. And then like every month send him the like, here's the no's that you didn't have to give that I did. So you should call me back. You know, like unless you want me to start forwarding them to you, sir. And you can start saying no.
I don't think my son has will check half of the emails that he sent his way. He'll say, did you look at that? Yes, I did. You know, it's like, Mom, did you do this? Did you do that? But I will say that I think that because of the people I surround myself with, the people that, that I've learned from and associate with, they know the type of people that we are. So I'm not really getting a lot of fluff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Early on, this is year 6 for him in the league.
Or they're just scared of you.
See,
and that's fine too. That's fine.
But I didn't want to say it out loud, right? But they just know we're not going to play those games, right? Yeah. So it's like, and I think again, we're trying to do this slow and right and be sustainable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not the one hit wonder.
Megan and I always talk about too is like people are like, you're bossy or oh you're this or you're that. I'm like, no, it's just leadership qualities. I just have leadership. I have leadership qualities. That's all. So
I like that.
You're assertive. Qualities. You know what you want. You got leadership qualities, and you're going to get it done. And that's why you're in charge. You have been amazing to have on this show. So amazing.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you guys.
We've loved having you
and
on.
I'm going to have you on when you may get an email from someone soon.
Do it.
You know?
Do it. Do you guys? Where do you guys record at? Do you record in New York or?
Well, we're virtual now. We used to record in Hoffman Estates, which is outside of Chicago. Mm-hmm. But just so busy. And now the thing is we're giving up doing shows because we were all over. So now I'm doing it just like you know, where we're in one city, you know, basketball takes you around the world. I mean, listen, I spent half the summer in other countries and I didn't record one time. So it's kind of like, we got to do this a little differently. We got to figure something out. So yeah, virtual from my home office or from my apartment. I hope I get snazzy one day and get to do it like live from MSG or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I feel like maybe we should do one from All Star. I'm just going to throw it out there in the universe that there should be a liver from All Star.
Claim it.
You know, coming out there.
I would love that opportunity.
I think that would be fantastic.
Manifest it. Yes, we're all about it.
Yes. Well, and if you want to know any some spectacular women, I mean, there's tons of women out there that are doing this and, you know, they happen to be other moms also or corporate women that probably would love to know your show. So hopefully I can introduce them to your show.
Send them our way. We would love that.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
We'd love to do it. No. Well, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. Yes. You're fantastic. Keep shining your bright light on this film. I need more of it. I do.
Thank you. And the same to the two of you. Thank you. I'm so honored that you have wanted to spend this time with me. So thank you.
Listen, we're going to be next event. We're going to be at the SRF next event. You're going to see our table there, just as long as it's not, you know, I don't know, playing
August 26th. August 26th.
Okay, I'm gonna get with Max and Sergio on it and Sammy. We're gonna be there. No, that would be fantastic. We'd love to support it.
Yes.
Thank you for inspiring the next you, because that's really what this is all about. It's the next you.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Kate.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay, Megan, that was honestly so fascinating to hear from Sandra. She did not start in sports by design, but she found her way there. Not only is she an NBA mom, but she was an NBA wife too, to her husband, Rick, who's now a coach at the Knicks, where her son plays. Like, how more convenient could that get?
I know, right? I think that's so crazy. And I was like, when I was learning more about Sandra and I saw that, I'm like, how fun, full circle that she's from New York and now Jaylen's back there. Something that's so cool is that she was able to co-found that nonprofit organization, Second Round Foundation, with her son. And the fact that she's doing so much for that, helping Jaylen, give back to his community and everything. I think that's so special. And Kate, how cool is it that she has her own podcast, The Motherload Show?
I know. I'm excited to go on. I think it's fascinating. We're new to this. She's been doing this, so I think we need to keep learning from her. But she is an inspiration, not only as a mom, as a woman executive, as someone that has now taken their career to a different path, and everything she's learned has amplified and set the way for her to be able to contribute at the Second Round Foundation. I think what she's doing and her ability to balance being a mom, a wife, and in this foundation place, she has to have these conversations with the same people she sees at the dinner table and how to navigate that. So that was really fascinating to hear. But we loved having you guys here this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let us know if there is an amazing woman out there that we need to celebrate and elevate here on Her Table. Until next time, we'll see you guys soon. That's it for Her Table.